So, I have a huge thing for watches, and today I'm going to share with you about my two newest babies from the Spinnaker family, the Spinnaker Fleuss in Oxblood Red and the Spinnaker Croft in Stealth Grey. First things first, although these are both rather big watches at 43mm diameter, they both go surprisingly well on my 15cm wrist. The holes are punched higher up on the Fleuss, so I'm able to wear it comfortably at the tightest setting. In comparison, when I wore the Croft at the tightest position out of the box, it tended to slip down towards my hand. And so I fixed this issue by punching my own hole in the right position, and now it fits perfectly. Another interesting thing is that the Croft, although technically only 1mm thicker than the Fleuss at 14mm instead of 13, it is visibly thicker. This is because the shape of the bezel, which is on the Croft, is more angular, whereas the Fleuss is more rounded, and also because on the Croft the crystal pops out quite a bit more. You can see from this angle. So since we are on the topic of the crystal, although both have identical descriptions on the website, which is scratch-resistant sapphire lens with anti-reflective coating, the crystal reflects light differently on both watches. So on the Fleuss, you can see it has a violetish sort of tinge when held at an angle, whereas for the Croft it's colourless regardless of the angle. Personally, I prefer the colourless one on the Fleuss. The Croft is also heftier than the Fleuss, 110 grams versus 95 grams, according to the specs on the website. So these 15 grams, it does make a difference, because I got the Croft first, and I really liked and got used to how hefty it felt. So when I got the Fleuss, I was quite surprised how much lighter my wrist felt. So it's a matter of perspective and preference. I love both equally much. Now the heftiness of the Croft is also because of the strap. So while both are 22mm wide, the strap for the Fleuss tapers a bit more, whereas the Croft strap stays the same width throughout. The Croft buckle is also wider and more architectural, and the Croft strap keepers are just wider and taller. So that's what adds to the bulk of it. The Croft strap is also thicker, maybe about by 1 or 2 millimeters compared to the Fleuss strap. And this makes the Croft strap a lot stiffer as well, whereas the Croft strap is a lot softer and more pliable. So you can see it's like really hard to bend, whereas the Fleuss is much softer. And you can see that the fold lines and the wrinkles on the Fleuss strap are a lot more apparent. So I don't really know what this says about the leather that they used, but I did observe that the Croft, the leather smells a lot more leathery and rich than the Fleuss. So if you enjoy that kind of leather smell, you're going to get it out of the Croft a lot more. Another thing I wanted to note is the color of the hands and the hour markers and the markers on the bezel. On the Fleuss, it's a creamy, light yellow sort of tinge, which lends to the vintage look of the watch. And you know, it would be almost too yellow, but the overall effect is that it goes perfectly with the deep red of the dial and the navy blue of the strap, and I simply love the color combination. In comparison, the color of the hands on the Croft is also creamy, but it's a lot more whitish. And in the Croft's case, I love how it's complemented by the gold lining on the hands and the hour markers. I feel that the gold gives this otherwise matte black, grey, and the white surfaces of the watch a very delightful kind of shiny accent, which offers just the right balance between understated and flashy. So one last thing I wanted to say about the colors. The lume has different colors for each watch. So you can see that for the Croft, it's a very nice blue for the hour markers and the second hand, but it's green for the hour and minute hand. And for the Fleuss, it's green on the hour markers and on the hands, but it's a whitish sort of tint. And I think this is a very nice color combination. So in summary, both the Croft and the Fleuss are handsome watches that, as you can tell, I'm besotted with at the moment. and I just can't decide which one to put on in the morning. And when I do decide, I keep staring at them on my wrist and grinning stupidly to myself, and I couldn't be happier with my purchases. So thank you very much, Spinnaker.